Hi everyone, welcome to this video demonstration of Personal GPT. It is basically a simple application that one can use to chat your own personal documents on your machine. We're going to use a framework called langchain. As you can see, it is a framework for developing applications powered by language models. Essentially, it provides an interface on top of the various machine learning models, including large language models, text models, embeddings models, so on and so forth. And most of the recent ones that are creating the buzz, like the Llama, the OpenAI, Azure OpenAI, Anthropic, and various other open source machine learning models that are hosted on Hugging Face, which is another platform that open source community is using to publish their new machine learning models. So basically this framework langchain provides an interface on top of those models, and today we're going to use this framework langchain to build as I said, a personal GPT application, very simple application in nodejs runtime that would imitate what a typical GPT application does. So with that background, and of course one can go to this langchain website and look at the various concepts, the models, the indexing, the various vector stores, the integrations, various use cases, so on and so forth. It's a pretty rich resource that one can use to build something like this. Now, I especially chose the runtime as Node.js because I have been seeing a lot of open source community do a lot of programming in Python in this area, and I wanted to do this same GPT application built in Node.js so that the Node.js community also gets something to learn on these lines. So with that background, let's get started. I'm going to walk through the code that I have written, and I will open source this code as well later on. But essentially, we have these two input files. One is the input file.txt, which is nothing but something about design, what goals it satisfies, examples, what are those people called who make design, so on and so forth. And then there is another file called State of the Union. This is the State of the Union address by the President of the United States, and this is this whole entire long lengthy file that is also an input. So we're going to use one file at a time, and we're going to run the program, the personal GPT, and basically change questions that we want to chat these files on one by one to see how the models react. And I have used OpenAI text Da Vinci model, which is the most common one of the most common large language models. So we'll go right into the program itself. Now, as you can see, first we start off by importing the necessary packages, which is of course the OpenAI from langchain, OpenAI embeddings, recursive character text splitter. This is basically to split those input files into smaller chunks because you don't want to pass the entire big file to the large language model. Then there is an import on a conversational retrieval QA chain. Chains are a very important topic in langchain, as the name suggests. It is basically a way to stuff the prompt with the prior context, the prompt itself, and the chosen model, and essentially tell the model that use this prompt and the stuffing, which is the feed, the context, and also tell the model that use the embeddings from a chosen vector database. So retrieve the embeddings from the vector database and then do what you have to do. So we'll see how it is being used later down. Memory vector store, as I said, vector store is basically a vector representation of the text input and the file. And I chose memory vector store. Usually I've seen HNSW lib being used in commonly in langchain tutorials, but I have used memory vector store because this HNS lib needs a Python runtime. So I tried to find another vector store which is also in memory and can suitably run with nodejs runtime. So that's where the memory vector store comes in, and then the environment and the file. So we configure the OpenAI API key in our environment, and we kind of fetch that key from the process env, and then we instantiate the model by this command. We specify the OpenAPI key, the name of the model. So as you can see, it's text 73003, and the temperature, which is nothing but the sensitivity of the model. Then we try to read the input file. So we'll start with input file.txt, the one which was talking about the designer, so on and so forth. And then later on, we'll also go to the state of the union file as well. Essentially, first we split the file into chunks, as I mentioned before, and then we create the vector embeddings of this chunk that we have, each of these chunks, using the API key and the model. We create the embeddings, and then we pass on these embeddings to the OpenAI embeddings API as well. So essentially, your OpenAI embeddings API does it has the neural net which creates the embeddings of the input chunk, and through this statement, those embeddings are stored in the memory vector store in memory database. And then essentially at the end we tell the model to use this vector store as the retriever for any type of chain that gets executed by using conversational retrieval keyword chain, followed by a question that we will ask. We'll populate what this question will look like, and then we'll call the chain to execute the question, and we'll console log the response, and we'll also ask a follow-up question wherein we'll again populate a question and we'll ask the chain to execute it. And essentially we'll run this function. So let's go ahead and type in a sample question, and let's find out what we want to ask maybe. So let's go to this input file, and so here it talks about the design. Here it talks about some goals and constraints and some examples here. Let's ask the PersonalGPT what is the meaning of this word designer, and then maybe a follow-up also wherein we can maybe ask what is the process of creating a design, so what is the meaning of the term designer in the process of creating a design, right? So we can ask what is the meaning of the term designer as our first question, and a follow-up question can be tell me something about the process of creating a design. So we'll see what this PersonalGPT responds with using these OpenAI models, and we'll run the program and watch it on the console. So for the first question, it gave a response that a designer is someone who produces design. This includes activities and all this text. So pretty neat on this response. And then the follow-up question was, what is the process of creating a design? So it gave a one-line response. So that sounds good. looks okay. Now maybe we can ask another question from this different file. So let's first import that file. So instead of this file, we'll now import and process this file, number one. And then let's find out what questions we maybe want to ask in this file. This is a very long file, so it's going to be difficult to find the question. Okay, too many good paying manufacturing jobs moved overseas, blah, 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 blah. Okay, let's ask something about the manufacturing jobs and then maybe ask a sentimental question on top of it, like, how do you feel about it? Again, here they're talking about manufacturing jobs. So, okay, let's do that. And we will ask the PersonalGPT, what did the president say about manufacturing jobs? So what did the president say about manufacturing jobs? And was that good? Okay, let's see. I'm trying with you what response the model gives to these questions. Okay, so it's executing now. So the president said that they had already created manufacturing jobs, 800,000, and the CHIPS Science Act, they would create hundreds of thousands of jobs. So something about the manufacturing jobs it actually understood and giving a natural language response. And it says, yes, it appears to be a good plan. It would create 10,000 jobs in Ohio, many of which would pay $130,000 a year without requiring a college degree, so on and so forth. So pretty neat. It again gave me a response on another file. So basically this program, in summary, as I said before, it will process the input file. First, it would create the splitting. It will split the file into chunks. Then it will create the embeddings using the OpenAI embeddings, store them into vector store, and tell the model to retrieve the embeddings from the vector store. And then you can execute the chain by asking it various questions that you have. So this demonstration was using the langchain framework for various machine learning models. As you can see, all the models are listed here, and this framework has been really trying to be up to the mark with everyday changes that are happening in this space. And I'm sure all of you know that this space is exploding day by day, and I found this framework very useful. I also know of other frameworks like Pandas AI that recently got released for Python runtime, and I'm sure many more frameworks will come in this generative AI space over a period of time. But anyways, we've reached the end of the demonstration. Thank you for being a part of it.